So the first of the modes that are based on minor, we're going to talk about the Dorian mode. Now if you remember Dorian, that's the one that starts on D. It's like white keys on D. Now realize you can play these modes anywhere, but if you want to identify them as being on the white keys, you do it this way. So Dorian is white keys starting on D. So it's got the minor thirds, so that's why I like to view it as a variation of minor. Now, natural minor starting on D would be this. But Dorian has the raised sixth. That's the hot note of Dorian. And if you look at it, what that does is it makes the 4 chord, in other words in D minor, typically the 4 chord would be G minor. But because of that raised sixth, now it's like. So you hear the difference? If you think of a song like Oye Como Va, lots of Latin songs use this mode. Again, Holst used the Dorian mode in the Planets, the movement Mars, which is like a warrior kind of a thing. We tend to associate this sound with a little bit more aggressive music of an aggressive nature. The song "Born to Be Wild" by Steppenwolf, you know, is that mode. Looking for adventure. Here's a good example I like to quote. You know the song "What Child Is This?" the Christmas song. Interesting because you'll see in the hymn books based on an old folk tune called Greensleeves, which is this, basically natural minor. So it's basically D natural minor. But oftentimes you'll hear it in D Dorian with that raised sixth. So you also hear it sung this way about half the time. What child is this? Do you hear the difference? So here's the natural minor Greensleeves. Here's the raised sixth. So this is like D Dorian. So you can hear the difference. This is used in a lot of rock songs. Again, you know, it's not like a song will be purely in one mode or purely in another. Lots of times you'll see these mixed together. Different places in the same song could even, you know, temporarily feature the Dorian mode and bounce out of it. You know, a good example of a song that sort of jumps back and forth is, you know, Eleanor Rigby by the Beatles. There's the hot note of Dorian. But then there's the regular natural minor. See, there's the B flat, that's natural minor. But here's the raised sixth. And then here's the natural minor. So songs can bounce back and forth, you know, Dorian, natural minor. You know, you can jump around like that, and in pop music these days, kind of like all bets are off. You know, you can break all the rules you want to. If it sounds good, then that's what you do. Let's look at the next mode that's based on minor, and that's called Phrygian. The Phrygian mode, the hot note is the lowered second. So it's like a natural minor scale with a lowered second. So Phrygian mode is white keys starting on E. So just listen to how it sounds. Now, if it was natural minor starting on E, it would have this. Right? But Phrygian has that lowered second. Now, again, I think, you know, your brain is probably already starting to pick up this. This music, again, based on movies and culture, is we sort of always associate with kind of Spanish, Moorish, Eastern European, kind of Arabic styles and culture. Another interesting variation of Phrygian is, we think of it as a variation of minor, but this progression is kind of typical. Like think of the Zorro movies, that are kind of based out of Spain and Moorish culture. The other thing that they tend to do, which is sort of a Picardy third type cadence, is when they get to the final note, they make that chord major. Right? So if you're getting ready to score like a Zorro movie, that's, the Phrygian mode is the place you would go. And then as a pretty typical thing to do is to finish off the cadence by changing that last minor chord to major. Now, you might think that this is a little bit far off the handle in a discussion of modern worship music, but do you know the song As the Deer, Marty Nystrom's? You, O Lord, are my strength, my shield. To you, O Lord, does my spirit yield. That's a Phrygian cadence, heading down. Or another good example of it is in the song Above All by Paul Baloche, where it's the end of the verse. Do it in the key of, stay in the key of C. There's no way to measure what you're worth. So as I said, it's pretty typical to end a Phrygian cadence by changing that chord to major instead of minor. But just remember, Phrygian, the hot note is that lowered second. Other than that, it looks pretty much like natural minor. Now, a couple of interesting variations of Phrygian. One that's called gypsy minor. And again, we talked about the variation being the major third instead. Listen to this gypsy minor scale. There's that lowered second. There's the major third. And obviously you can hear that sound, that's like Eastern European sort of. That's typically called gypsy minor. Another variation, gypsy harmonic minor. Now if you remember, harmonic minor is like minor with the lowered sixth of minor, but a raised seventh. So gypsy harmonic minor has two of these big spaces in it. So there's lowered second, major third, and then the same way here. Lowered sixth, raised seventh. So listen to that. That's called gypsy harmonic minor. A lot of these variations, tend to strike our ears as really uniquely ethnic, uniquely, culturally spicier than we're used to. But definitely, if you're going into kind of like the film scoring mode, or if you're trying to, bring those kind of highly colored spices into your music, you want to explore these scales. And there's lots more detail in the book. So there's one more mode we need to talk about that's based on minor, and that's called the Locrian.